When the whistleblower Babita Deokaran flagged almost 850 million rand in suspicious payments at Tembisa Hospital back in 2021, she's not just stumbled on irregularities. She had pulled back the curtain on the cartel economy that the head of intelligence, Mr. Khumalo, in his testimony to the Madlanga Commission, described as the Big Five model, a system where money, politics, and violence merge to protect looting. Let's listen to the clip at Madlanga Commission.
A group of highly sophisticated criminals that will come together in a form of an enterprise, coming with different skills and expertise, including experience, with many syndicates or groupings operating under them. That is our understanding of the cartel.
So when you refer to the Big Five, are you referring to Big Five cartels or Big Five individuals who are part of the cartel?
Big Five individuals that are part of one cartel, as shown in the next, as shown in the same paragraph 57, last part.
So this schematic that you're referring to at the end of paragraph 57 depicts a cartel.
Yes. That's correct, Commissioners.
Okay, you can, and I think you want to describe this schematic, so can you take the commissioners through that?
The currently identified cartel, known as Big Five, is having a structure as reflected, with the main commodity being drugs, and then there are other illicit activities that I will touch.
Sorry to interrupt you, but just for the sake of clarity, although the schematic has those skulls depicting three of the players, it's not your intention to say they're deceased, right? I mean, they are still alive and thriving. Just to clarify for the commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is an ongoing project investigation from the identification of the Big Five, the progress made. Those that are mentioned, reflected there in their boxes or positions, they've already been addressed, being a Mr. Katiso Mulifi, as well as a Mr. Muzi Matlala, and then the other three are still being addressed.
So the reason for the skulls is because you can't name those individuals at this point.
That is correct, Commissioners.
Well, not in public.
That is correct, Commissioners.
After Babita Deokaran's assassination, 6 gunmen were arrested and eventually convicted. But everyone knew they were foot soldiers, not the masterminds. Investigators traced the plot back to the middleman, and they eventually arrested the middleman. The middleman is the person who the investigators thought was actually coordinating payment to the shooters, and they connected these shooters to the people who ordered the hit. connected to these syndicate bosses, the big five. That's what the Khumalo is saying. So, and then just when the link could have exposed the higher ups, the middleman himself died. And also, I told you that his phone that was seized during the investigation vanished at a police station. Yeah, a laptop and phone vanished. Those could have been investigated to connect him to the actually mastermind. So he died, and his death under circumstances that remain murky. That's also the death of that man severed the only line that could connect the assassins, those gunmen who were in jail, to those who ordered the hit. This is exactly what the head of crime intelligence, Mr. Khumalo, meant when he said the big five rely on eliminating intermediaries to ensure the chain of accountability breaks before it reaches the top. Shocking.
From the previous CEO's office, given the frequent approvals of requests for quotations. Tembisa Hospital SCM official requested purchase orders for these non-compliant bidders from the Gauteng Department of Health. We're calling it head office, but it's the department level. Yet, no concerns were raised regarding the unusually high number of POs processed. Right, we also looked at the actions of the Gauteng Department of Health officials. We found that non-compliant bidders were issued compliance certificates without raising any red flags. The SIU found no evidence of concern from the department regarding the RFQs processed. The same individuals who issued these irregular compliance certificates also approved purchase orders for non-compliant bidders, violating the principle of segregation of duties. Irregularities were only suspected at the time when Ms. Babita Deokaran, in August 2021, as I indicated when I started, she at the time flagged about 850 million worth of transactions.
Fast forward to 2024. Dr. Ashley Mthunzi, suspended CEO of Tembisa Hospital, was still facing a disciplinary process for authorizing dodgy tenders. Yes, he had intimate knowledge of how procurement approvals were signed, how segregation of duties was collapsed, and how syndicates were fed through the hospital's budget. Then suddenly, he died after a short illness. No conclusive report has ever been made public. Some whispers of poisoning, others call it coincidence. But what is really clear is that this death was highly convenient for those who feared his testimony. And again, the very same hospital, a fire started, and the fire was only in the area where the records would have been kept around how these dodgy tenders were approved. Now, the head of intelligence, Khumalo, Mr. Khumalo, at Madlanga Commission, in his testimony, warned that the Big Five used these soft assassinations, yes, as cause of assassination, people, alongside bullets, unexplained illness, okay, car crashes, mysterious accidents, to quietly remove insiders before they can talk. Wow. This is like a horror movie. Is this really a country that we're describing here? South Africa, is it really you? This is like a horror movie. It's like this is horror. Seriously, this is horror. So,
Shocking.
Khumalo's testimony at Madlanga Commission outlined 5 pillars of cartel survival. Procurement captures, that's number one. In this procurement capture, these syndicates use shell companies to loot contracts. Tembisa Hospital, the Cartel, they use Maumela, who is Cyril Ramaphosa's nephew, Mazibuko, another man called Govindraju, Sekhokho, who is a very known ANC operative. Now, the second thing that these big five, the blueprint of this big five is the protection networks. So they'll have police and politicians shield their operations. Lieutenant Mkhwanazi, in his testimony, repeated the same thing that uh, you know the two individual, Ket Matlala, the well-known one, he's actually connected to a lot of officials, the Minister of Police, and the another EMPD, Ekurhuleni EMPD, which is the same area where the Tembisa Hospital is at. Mkhwanazi there, who's EMPD, who is, yes, that is the Metro Police. And also ANC Ekurhuleni structure, as I said, Sekhokho is also ANC operative, kind of very much known as ANC structure, person related to ANC, a political party. So you can see these protection networks that was described by the head of intelligence at Madlanga Commission. And the third thing that he also described was this violence and intimidation. And I've also, mentioned that with whistleblowers and insiders silence. Babita was shot after she sent that report. At that time, the corruption was close to about 800,000 rands. At the time, it went all higher to about 2 billion rands of this corruption. The hospital evidence were banned, and the CEO, who could have actually given some indication of what happened and given a testimony, also died. The middleman erased, who was organizing this hit, also dies mysteriously. So this violence and intimidation is what Khumalo described, and this is what happened at Tembisa. Now, there's also this thing called the political patronage. So the political patronage is that the looted fund from the taxpayer in South Africa, they actually feeds the politicians. As so far, we know of ANC campaigns and also enrich elites. But we also know through the testimony of Madlanga Commission that DAs may be implicated with some of these ministers. And I've mentioned of that, of those ministers, the two ministers that may be implicated as well. So there's a lot of, and also the colored NCC, National Colored whatever party. There's a lot of even PA, because Kenny Winene was also found in one of those one of the two big five. So the big five we know that are named publicly is KT, Ketomolefe, and the Vusimusi Matlala is the second one. The other three have not been named publicly because the investigation is still going. These two have been named because they are now arrested. They're facing charges. And yes, the KT's been trying to get out of bail, wanting to have a bail. Apparently, he's they've denied bail for him because of his high risk and all this stuff related to him being linked into this big five. But he's trying to get a bail to be had at High Court of South Africa. So good luck on that one. But the High Court is also has its own problem. Unless the reason I think that he wants to go there because he may have some connection because Mkhwanazi and the head of intelligence Khumalo also testify about the mode of this, the blueprint of this syndicate, how the cartel pillar, how they survive is to have this connection to nature, the relationship at the highest level. So, and this has been shown as well from previous cases as well in the High Court that actually they may not be as independent as we thought they were. So it's maybe important for you all as South African to have a look at these cases and review them and see whether they meet the standard masters. Whether the reasoning around it it's justifiable. Where's it's a rational reasoning? Because some of them are not rational. I've looked at them because I know I've looked at them. A couple of them they're a bit suspect, but it's good for you guys to go and have a look and check. So this political patronage is the fourth blueprint of these people, cartel. The fifth one is eliminating accountability. The eliminating accountability is to kill the witnesses. We know that there's a lot of with what the DA minister used to have charges laid against the head of intelligence was to use a what do you call the classified information about how the purchase of a house, a safe house for these witnesses. But it wasn't meant to be public because it was meant to be highly classified information to protect these witnesses. But the DA minister publicly talked about it. You know what I mean? So, and then they structured some charge against him. The very same person who told us about this big five. And you can understand why they want him eliminated because he's very smart and he's very knowledgeable, very competent. I actually enjoyed his testimony. Very competent person. You could tell. I can tell a person that knows their stuff. He knows the stuff. Him and Mkhwanazi, they know the stuff. So yes, he said yes. Some of these, the fifth part of this, the big five, is eliminating accountability, like killing the witnesses. That's why they needed that house. I'm assuming that one of the reasons why they bought that house and they wanted it to be public, not to be private, not to be publicized. And also they protect the bosses. So the middleman gone, the CEO gone, the mastermind unnamed. And that's what I've been saying all the time. Why everyone around this man, Mr. Matlala, is talk about is, but he is not named. He's not even his background is touched. Not even who he is actually touched, is protected. And there's a very good reason why he's protected. But he probably has all of that all the way up, even with the crime intelligence. Rafadi, he's also linked to that one. He's also, I would say, even media as well, because there was some example were given by some comments about him that he's possibly, there's also a link of him with some media houses as well. He may be actually controlling them as well. So this big five, I don't know what you call this one. What can we call this actually? Is it the mafia state? Because that sure is. This looks like a mafia state. Yeah, it is shocking actually when the story is being told, and especially the money that's looted is looted out of public health care. Public health care. This is an example of that big five. If you don't understand how the big five works, look at Tembisa. Perfect example of how this big five, even the metropolis there, had actually given this man, Matlala, blue lights. Would you believe? Blue lights that are not meant to be used by any citizens.
At the time, and this is where her intervention proved very, very immensely valuable. At the time is then when the Office of the Premier and SIU entered into a secondment agreement and we started investigating and digging deep. And some findings were made, actions was taken, but that led to a proclamation, which then dug even deeper. There is an office called the Transit Office. The SIU confirmed that goods received vouchers were recorded in the system before the transit supervisor signed off on deliveries. There is an inconsistency in delivery records compared to the number of purchase orders, suggesting that many goods may not have been delivered at all. Right, now, at the end, or even during the investigations, I indicated that some of the processes would have been completed. We have referred some of the service providers to the authorities, and we call those administrative referrals so that administrative action can be taken. To date, SIU referred 25 matters to the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, called SAPRA, relating to the contravention of the legislation related to the Medicines and Related Substance Act. And amongst others, we have already referred matters to the National Prosecuting Authority, even during this investigation at this interim stage. As I indicated already, NPA and the Asset Forfeiture Unit are already taking action. They are collaborating with the SIU team, the Hawks. The Hawks is already investigating as well. So to date, SIU has referred about 4 matters to the National Prosecuting Authority for corruption involving the officials at the Tembisa Hospital and implicated service providers of Tembisa Hospital. Only these service providers that have been referred to NPA at this stage. There's more that will be referred. The value thereof is more than 42 million. Right, as I indicated, we as SIU and the Asset Forfeiture Unit, we will be working hard to ensure that we recover the monies that the department or Tembisa Hospital has lost. We'll recover it from the officials that are involved. We'll recover it from the service providers. So, as I indicated, to date there's about 116 referrals for disciplinary action to be instituted. We have referred these matters to the department for action to be taken. I need to indicate we need to ensure that there's monitoring of these referrals and to ensure that action is taken. So these referrals will also be sent to the Minister of Health to monitor and ensure that disciplinary action is taken against this official. The officials and their levels, as I indicated, are itemized in the interim report.
So why these deaths matter? The middleman's death ensured Babita's killers could never be traced back to the syndicate bosses. The CEO's death erased a key witness who could have tied provincial officials and ANC figures directly to the fraud. Together, they show how the Big Five's mafia logic plays out. Kill the story before it climbs the ladder. When Ramaphosa said he doesn't know his nephew, he thinks not knowing his nephew will distance him from his nephew. But everything about Maumela points out that he knows him exactly because the very same person is close to his advisor, political advisor of 2017. So how would you not know? How would you not know a nephew who played with your son, who grew up with your son, who's very close to your son? Yeah. So anyway, what remains is a pattern of systemic impunity. Gunmen in jail, whistleblowers silenced, insiders dead, but syndicate bosses still driving Lamborghinis bought from stolen hospital money. And these syndicate bosses are referred to as businessmen. You have to ask yourself, they give them businessman or give them name like tenderpreneur. You have to ask yourself, what are the things they brought? What innovation these people have they brought to the country's economy, to South Africa's economy? If you call them businessmen, what type of business they do? They're not businessmen, they're looter. They're looter. You shouldn't even give them these names like tenderpreneur, whatever. They are looter. Everything that they come up and flash is the public funds. They haven't created anything. In fact, they inflate prices. They don't know how to do this stuff. They get other people to do their job on their behalf because they are politically connected, and they will create these front companies. Yeah, this is really bad. It's so bad. So, the head of intelligence, Mr. Khumalo, described the Big Five as cartel state hybrid, not just stealing, but actively controlling the machinery of accountability. The story of Tembisa Hospital, the Babita's murder, the middleman's suspicious death, Dr. Mthunzi's short illness, it's not just corruption, it's the Big Five playbook in action. Loot through contracts, protect through politics, enforce through violence, and erase anyone who threatens the chain of protection. So, for all of you who are colluding with them, sooner, very likely, like you could also be erased because you would know a little bit more, just like his ex-girlfriend who suspected he was involved and communicated this suspicion to the friend who then told him, and then she nearly died. Thankfully, she lived to retell the story, and now she is a key witness around the Vusi Musikat Matlala story. So this is really bad. You may think you are protected because you got, you're giving a bit of money to this stuff, but these people, they're cartels. They don't care. They're inhuman. They will come after you to protect themselves. So watch out.